got 100,000 views overnight, and I was like, oh, well, this is something. Ninth video got 1 million views overnight, and I was like, okay, so like I'm really onto something here.
I mean, I'd made over 1,000 videos on YouTube at the time. Oh, we got HBO Max there on mute.
We got HBO Max there. We are sponsored in Wonderful, Arkansas. This is sponsored by Seth, who's your sponsor right now? Quiznos. Shout out Quiznos. Really?
What do they do to you?
They make subpar sandwiches and try to say they're better than like Subway. Also make subpar sandwiches,
That is true.
but Quiznos makes eating more subpar sandwiches.
I can see that. Honestly.
Well, you sandwich right now? Subway hits a spot every now.
So they can.
It still sucked like quarter. Was it? All right, real question. Are Subway sandwiches subpar if you make them yourself?
That the non-Subway sandwich.
Our Subway sandwich.
They're I think before Jafari is making like you're choosing the way. Yeah. So therefore it's trash because you.
What if we were trash for like
Quality of the ingredient.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Outliers. This is episode 7. Today we are sitting down with Seth Godwin, the Godfather, and Antonio. What's your app?
Invest starters.
Investors. I'll put both of them in the description. Thank you guys so much for coming on. This is super like impromptu, or just let it. We have to be gone in like 30 minutes. It's Riaz's birthday. We gotta get ready, but we're like, let's do a podcast.
But we're in the middle of freaking nowhere. I can't believe you brought your podcast up to
Literally the middle of it. I didn't know podcasts worked in Arkansas.
Hey, they work anywhere.
I refuse to say that word properly. It's is this or die.
Growing up, I always used to call it Arkansas. I always thought it was Arkansas.
This is the only state that I've ever gotten a ticket in, and so I Arkansas slander all day long. Screw this place, except for Brienne because we left for.
Thanks. Shout out to Brad. It is her 23rd birthday today. So that is why you are so horrible, dude.
Why you have to call me out like that? You nobody know my age on this podcast.
I'm so old, you guys.
Yeah. You are.
Antonio is youthful. He actually has been way younger on me because he takes care of himself. I get a quick zoom in on that as well.
Antonio, well, tell us about yourself. Where do you from?
I live in Austin, Texas, from New York, New Jersey most of my life. And I make videos about real estate investing for beginners because I was overwhelmed when I started. So I'm helping other people who are overwhelmed.
Let's talk about that a little bit. How did you get started then in real estate? What was your first endeavor?
I was living in New York City and I was trying to buy a house. Obviously, everything in New York City is way too freaking expensive. Well, I ended up buying about 2.5 hours outside of New York City where I went to college. And at that point in time, I was planning on buying it myself. I had saved up $30,000 over the last few years as a software engineer. And every weekend I would go back and forth to this town to go look at properties. It took about 3 months, and then I eventually got one. And then a few weeks before the property closed, my brother and my dad were like, we want to get in on this too. So I changed the loan from a 10% down FHA, which means I would have had to live there, to a 25% down conventional. And my brother and my dad put $15K each in. We created an LLP, and then we bought that house.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. So you were a software engineer.
Yeah.
And how long were you doing that for?
That time it was 4 years software engineering.
And so was that your career path growing up, or was that something kind of actually from the two?
I actually didn't know what I wanted to do when I went to college. I didn't know I was a computer engineering major. I had selected that until I was halfway through my sophomore year. I was like, I know I chose engineering, but I don't know which one. I remember my guidance counselor in high school telling me pick engineering because I like science and math, and I failed English, and I got a 490 on writing on my SAT, and my math score was good, so for decently. So he was like, you should do that. So that's why I ended up being in that, and then I realized I was like, oh, I'm in this field, and it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah. And so when you bought that first property, what was the feeling like, oh, I've accomplished this? Or was it something like, oh, I want to be bored? What was the feeling when you forgot the keys? You're like, this is my property, I own this. Was it a sense of like relief, the joy, addition? What were you feeling?
The second I got it, I was like, I can't believe this is happening, because I thought this was something. It felt like I was doing it so soon, but it also felt like I took a long time to get it done, like weird dichotomy. But it felt so great, and I was like, all right, well, now I have no money. How the hell do I do this again? Like, do I have to wait another 4 years to save money to do this again? So I was really motivated to go again. I like instantly was starting to look at properties. The feeling of getting the keys and the check at closing table, which doesn't really happen anymore because of COVID, but at the time it felt great. So it just accelerated me to try to keep going at that point.
Gotcha. And so stemming from that, you started like real estate content, right? How did you get into that from, I guess, going from software engineer to like getting a property? At what point did you start making content after that? Seth said question to you.
But I actually started making content before I started doing real estate, but it wasn't about real estate. I first started making a blog about the software engineering stuff I was doing. And I started making YouTube videos about, I used to be an Alexa skill developer, so I would make like Alexa skills. And so I was showing my skills using YouTube and a blog. And then after that, I was like, oh, I really like this self-improvement stuff. So I just started making videos about self-improvement from that. And then as I was going through this process, buying the property, I was noticing that other people had the same problem. So I was like, oh, shoot, like I should talk about this. Like this is actually a niche. Whereas before I didn't have a niche. I literally would just talk about the book I was reading at the time. And like, who wants to listen to someone who isn't super successful talk about a book that they're reading at the time? No one wants to listen to that.
Yeah, I find a lot of people too, when they find their like, calling or whatever is niche, it's always like solving a problem. Like, okay, this is something that I am aware of. I know these issues and not fix them, and I can put this content out to like help or entertain somebody in the space. So it's actually very interesting you said that, because I've heard that a similar response in different categories as well for that.
Yeah, I think being your own customer is a really important thing. It's like I'm building the thing that I'm solving.
Yeah.
That I have a problem for.
And Seth, so how did you get the content?
So I've been making content since I was in middle school. It started out by me making just like kind of like comic book style videos. And it was just like compilation videos of stuff that me and my friends have been doing. Then I started taking it seriously by reviewing like rock and roll albums from the 70s and 80s. And then I started opening up Pokemon card packs. This was in like 2011, 2012. So way before the trend of people actually giving a shit about Pokemon. It was just like super nerdy at the time still.
Yeah.
I just kind of let it go because none of that really took off. I did the Pokemon stuff probably the longest. It was about 1.5 years. But I had my first success during the pandemic teaching people how to buy cars, because that was my background before I went into content creation fully timeless. Helping people with all different types of loans. I worked at one of the largest financial institutions in the world, processing loans all day. And when the pandemic really kicked off, for whatever reason, the car market exploded.
It did. You went absolutely crazy. People that aren't aware, used cars were going for more than like new cars.
Yeah.
It was insane.
So I realized that nobody really knew how to buy a car. So most of the deals that were coming through that I would have to like either congratulate people for being approved for, or let them down and say, yeah, you can't finance 225% of what a car is valued at. I realized just nobody knew how to buy a car. So I've gone on TikTok, honestly, out of pettiness, and to try to alleviate my job a little bit and just teach people, this is how you do it. If you do it any other way, you're going to get screwed over. And 4 videos in, I had a video, got 100,000 views overnight. And I was like, oh, well, this is something. 9th video got 1 million views overnight. And I was like, okay, so like I'm really onto something here.
Yeah.
And most of the comments were like, well, how do I build my credit? How do I save up? How do I do this? How do I do that? Basic personal finance stuff. And it's stuff that I was never taught in school. And I realized that other people weren't taught in school. So I kind of took the approach of, I'm going to teach stuff to my former self. I had this like avatar of myself in middle and high school. I was like, I'm going to teach this kid how to do the stuff that we should have been taught.
Yeah. When you're starting that too, again, problem solving goes back to the same thing. You're just solving problems and helping people with that. You tend to sometimes be very blunt. I'm not tend, but you are very blunt.
Yeah.
I love you for that.
Thank you.
Hashtag honorary New Yorker. I don't know. Antonio, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he gets it. He's there more than me.
But yeah, so when you do your type of content, because your content is a little bit more different. It's not super edited. It's very, real right there. How do you think that differs? You think it's great that you do that? Or would you rather be different that content?
Honestly, I didn't really know any other way to make content. I took a lot of inspiration from somebody named Nate O'Brien, because that's the way that he approaches his videos too. He just kind of like talks to the camera, like, here's what I'm going to talk about. Here's all the information about what I'm talking about, and video. And I really respect that, because it feels like somebody's talking to me one-on-one. So that's how I wanted to make videos too. And it's really easy. I don't want to get super complicated because I'm lazy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, I feel like it saves a lot of time too. Because you're talking about Antonio right earlier. How you it takes you how long to make videos?
18 hours is an exaggeration. Sometimes I spend a lot of time on a video and I get very little output from the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was your success coming from? Like, did it take you a long time to build up your profile and your page, or was it more of like a couple of videos went viral? I'm gonna get to this, or was it slow and steady?
I mean, it wasn't necessarily slow and steady, but I basically was on YouTube for 4 years, and then I switched over to TikTok, and then obviously the opportunity at TikTok at the time was a lot easier. So I had luck in that sense of being one of the few real estate people at the time who was making content about real estate. But I do think part of it was because I had made over 1,000 videos on YouTube at the time. Over a year. Yeah. I was doing like 9 videos a week I did that straight for a full year, and then I was doing a decent amount after that. But because of that, plus the luck of me lining up at that same time that TikTok had extra potential, I started doing well on TikTok, and I basically repurposed the stuff I had on TikTok over to other platforms, and Instagram and Facebook are starting to do something now too, which are nice, but took a while.
That's really good. Honestly, that's the type of stuff that I want people to actually hear. Because a lot of people get discouraged nowadays when they post 10 videos and like, oh man, none of these did good. You had to do 1,000 on YouTube. It didn't even work. And then you went to TikTok,
I still post YouTube videos and I only have 4,700 subscribers 6 years later. But less than 1,000 a year. Jeez.
Yeah, but you still, but that's like the whole point is this, you push through. You said, I'm going to keep going. I think that's very admirable. Like, that's something I really, really respect about somebody is that I think it's easy. It's not easy, but I do believe that it's easier for people that already have won in life or have had success on social media or some platforms. And then to come back and say, somebody that hasn't had any success, but they keep going. I feel like that I respect that person so much because they have everything to lose. They're not gaining anything, but they're still continuing to move forward. And so I think that's really, really respectable, honestly. Okay. Seth, what about after your videos, right? So you said you had a few videos that went 100,000, 100,000, million. How did you, I guess, monetize that?
At first, it was all about just providing value and building up a base that trusted me. Because I think trust with an audience is the most important thing. So every bit of information that I put out is all about just providing value and building community. I didn't monetize until a few months in. And that was just like with small $5 affiliate things here and there, with things like Acorns or Robinhood before Robinhood pulled their shit. it was almost a year in before I made any real money with it. Because I didn't want to think my audience is I was taking advantage of them, or that I was just trying to profit off of them. But when that opportunity to bash Robinhood came through, I had already lined up another affiliate, and I made a video bashing them, bashing Robinhood, plugged my other affiliate, and that's what ultimately allowed me to go full time with it.
Wow.
It was just that one video.
That one video. I saw also too that what was it? The Kelly was it Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly Blue Book came right at my 2-year anniversary with TikTok.
And how did that feel? Because that's like right up your alley.
It was like a full circle moment. I started out on TikTok talking about, how to buy a car, how to value cars. And Kelly Blue Book was something that I mentioned in my videos. And then they reached out to me, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I got a little bit dizzy, and that's been in my opinion, my biggest sponsorship to date.
Yeah, but that's cool though. It's like it obviously, like you said, full circle. It's just amazing to see. And growing in this space too as a content creator. Obviously, you guys have businesses on the side too. But as a content creator, how has the space you've seen evolve since you started today? What have you guys noticed that has been the biggest changes? I guess this makes more specific for you guys. What's the best and worst changes you've seen to social media since you started? We can start with
Let's go first. Yeah, I told you no lie.
The best and worst change from social media since I started.
it can be any of them.
The best change, I would say, is that when I started out, I don't feel like that I started making videos in 2017. Like, the only really big finance name at the time was probably Graham. And now that the finance niche itself has obviously exploded, like a lot of us here are all finance people. And now there's niches on niches and niches of people talking about different types of stuff like credit, real estate, whatever, getting loans. So I like that there's more accurate and more information available specific to people. The worst part is that
Could you say that's also the worst thing too?
I wouldn't call that the worst thing.
I would. Simply because there are so many bad actors now that come across as like really genuine, as really wanting to help people, and all they're doing is lining their pockets. There are a ton of like whole life insurance salesmen who try to pass off whole life as like as an investment product, where it's not.
Yeah.
And that, they'll say like 401ks and IRAs are scams in order to push this product.
Sorry, when's the white guy right now?
I'm not going to single out any one person because I have an idea of their thought about it. There are so many of them. I mean, there are some that are bigger than others, sure, and more relevant to the conversation. But that's, I think that's the worst part.
Yeah. I guess studying that from that too was like how you guys' relationship to grow. Like, I feel all of us here, even the people, shout out, you guys can come in and say hi too if you want. With what comes say hi, we have for all the people walking around the country.
And the Kelon telling me.
Come introduce you guys yourselves.
Introduce Milan on the podcast.
Hi, my name is Lita Owen, and I post about Airbnb and transitioning into a general business.
What's your at?
At Lita Owen, LENAOEUN. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm Jimena Cortez, so I work with smartcredit.com, and a lot of people in this room are working with our brand. And my ad, and when you get at Smart Credit, and if you have questions about credit, you can contact me at Jimena Cortez OC.
Nice. And we have one more right here. We actually have two more. Yeah, we have two more. The one's in the shower. Kearney, do some other. We have one to sound like you.
And me.
Yeah, I did listen to Card B or like it like that. Yeah. My name is Barry Taylor. I am a short form content creator, talking mainly about business news and now career opportunities with all the layoffs that are happening.
I would get out which bear.
Oh, at Jabari Taylor.
That is. So yeah, I mean, all of us here, as you guys will see, we've all became friends through social media. I guess in the same.
And and this is only about half of this.
This still only half of us. One
Specific trip.
Actually, this is less than half of it.
I think after.
Yeah, we've built like a pretty big friend group, and this started, I guess, 2020.
We started hanging out in 2021. Yeah. I know there were individual meetups. Like I went to Colorado to see Dr. Brad. I went to Cincinnati to see John. I have been to Austin, but my first trip to Austin was for FinCon 2021. That's when I think everything, because the pandemic was going on in most of 2020 and the first half of 2021. So there weren't like big meetups. So when we all finally got to get together and see who we were in person and realize that for the most part, we're all the same people as we are online. It's like, okay, I really do like these people. I want to spend as much time as humanly possible with them. One, because they're good people and they're fun to be around. But two, the conversations that we have just elevated us. Like Grant Cardone talks all the time about like 10xing everything. I feel like we've all 100x our businesses because we're always hanging out with each other.
I think that's a very, very important detail that you pointed out there. I don't think anybody that started in that group would have been as big if they didn't be in that group.
Oh, I know for sure I would.
And it's not a slight telling me it's like hard work or anything like that. It's just that the amount of like resources you pull together, amount of brain hour and like thought that goes into help each other. I'll just point this out too. Last time, so we were in Florida, two months ago?
Just over a month ago.
Just over a month ago to Florida to visit Pensacola where Seth is from. And we just got a whiteboard and we would all talk about content creation, different tools that help us make content, how to accelerate, tips for working with brands. And I think it's very important. A lot of people like to be to themselves and keep all these secrets, but for us, we've learned that it's very beneficial to share this information with each other, not only to help each other, but for ourselves to even grow. Because when you give, I believe that you truly be able to receive. And
yeah, rising tides lift all boats.
Exactly. And I'm so glad we just have some of the best memories ever. Honestly, like going Vegas, New York.
And on a whim in most cases.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, what are you doing next week? No, but it's great. It's great.
I've been trying to think about your answer for the worst thing about social media this September.
You figure it out?
I don't know if I figured it out. One thing that I definitely think has gone bad is that because of the more people being on the platform, it's been on all the platforms, it's been easier for people to copy other people for their ideas. And while at this point in time, I think that a lot of the finance space ideas are already like I learned from people who were content creators, and so none of my ideas, but a lot of my ideas that were the foundation of what I started to learn were not mine. So it's a hard balance to take what you've learned and then add your own spice, your own ideas on top of it. Like, I feel like now I have, after having more experience in the real estate space, I now have my own concrete ideas that are different than other people. But the problem is that like a lot of people who join the platform will start by like direct copying other people's ideas or 95% copying someone else's idea because they know the video did well, and then they'll have 100,000 followers overnight, and then all of a sudden they're making money off of the ideas that someone else had. So it's that is one problem that I see. I had another one, but I went too deep. I went too deep into that one, and I forgot the rest of what I was going to say.
No, but I think you definitely did nail that, because I see that happening many, many times. We've seen that happen even within like some of our inner circle, like happen to them,
Oh, I got it. The trust. We're building trust with people, like giving them information and helping them. And then now there's all these impersonator accounts and all these other people that are coming and DMing. One of my followers sent $12,000 to someone else because the profile had my picture on it, And then Instagram and TikTok don't do anything about it. Like, you can scroll my name for 5 minutes on TikTok and you'll see fake account, fake account, fake account. I've reported them all. They don't do anything about it. So like, it's great that the information's out there, but now it's been harder to trust people. Like, I've had people where I'm actually DMing them and they want to buy my products and I send them a link to my product and they're like, how do I know this is you? So I have to send them a voice message to prove that this is me about something specific we're talking about or something we've only talked about in order for them to know that it's me, because the platforms won't do anything about it. So there's also that, like, with the increased trust, there's also been increased lack of trust because of impersonation.
Have you ever used one of those like scanning tools to find out how many people have your name, like your username on a platform?
I didn't know this exists.
It's been a long time. It's probably been about a year since I've used one, so they probably patched whatever for that specific one. But the last time I ran one of these things, there were over 10,000 fake accounts of me on TikTok.
I mean, I have like half of my followers on Instagram, or half of the fake buttons. Dude, I'm hoping I can. Hold on, I'm not hoping I'm not going to get banned because then my follower counts will go real.
Dude, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't have a big following on Instagram, but I get messages every single day of like, hey, here's another one. Like, another one followed me.
They're just using your trust to make money off of you, and it sucks because, like, I would have taken the $12,000. The other person, I could have at least given them a better ROI than the $12,000 they got scammed out of. Like, shit.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Are you guys going to be paying for the Instagram verification?
We have to.
Yeah, I was super, super against it at first because, like, I hate the idea of them making money off of, like, people that should have the check mark.
The people that are making their platform.
Right.
They would have no ads if we didn't make videos.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I want to protect my audience. And if I want to protect my audience, I have to do this.
Do you think they leverage that? Do you think they did it on purpose?
I mean, they're always looking for ways to make money, for sure. So it was definitely on purpose.
It feels like it.
Honestly, that's the way I took it.
It just feels like such a slap.
If every time I report a fake account and they don't remove it, they're like, this person doesn't violate your guidelines. I'm like, clearly he does. He's downloaded all my videos, uploaded them to their page, and he's DMing all my followers. How is that not violating any sort of guideline? So then they create this thing that costs $20 a month. So now we're all forced to do it in order to differentiate ourselves from other people.
Yeah, that's
At least I will say, I will give Meta a little bit of credit for how they've chosen to approach this verification system. They're at least having you verify with an ID. Twitter was just like, here's your check mark.
Yeah, and that's how I thought it was. So I thought the scammers were going to all get verified. And I was like, no, I'm going to pay $20 a month to get nothing better than what I got now.
That's terrible. No, I definitely do agree. The Twitter verification, especially the first week of Twitter verification, was terrible. Because personally, it caused.
Both of you got it?
I didn't get it. I don't.
I did end up. Well, I was already subscribed to Twitter Blue because I wanted I don't check my tweets before I send them out, and then I'll be like, shit, I misspelled something. I have to delete it. Now I can edit my tweets. But it whenever the verification thing came out, all it said, well, I got a notification like price increase. Do you accept the price increase? I was like, yes. And then 2 days later, I had a check mark. I was like, what? Nothing here? Like, I don't have to verify that I'm who I say you. And it proved to be like such a huge mistake that, like, we saw stock prices being affected because, like, people were making fake accounts of, like, pharmaceutical companies, said Biden, Trump, all Biden, and, like, talking about stocks, and, like, it was causing stocks to, like, literally plummet. And I can't remember which pharmaceutical company it was, but they lost like 25% of their market cap overnight. Now, I don't have any pity for, like, I have no remorse for this particular company, but this was happening to a bunch of other companies too.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen happen in the stock market.
More crazy than GameStop?
Dude, way crazier than that.
Honestly, I could over tweets. I agree with you because you could purely manipulate whatever you want with that. Like, you could manipulate whatever company, person, news, whatever you wanted. There was a point where there were people, the person like professional basketball players. Like, I just saw that was the only thing I saw. Not the only thing, but that was the main thing I saw. And to the point where they were saying how yo, we're gonna do a meetup in this area, and like 10,000 fans would go to this location thinking that the player's gonna be there just for no one to be there. There's 10,000 people were sent to a random location. Imagine having that power to sitting in a room and being like, hey, 10,000 people come to this place. Imagine that.
Use it for good, for Christ's sake. God forbid they did that.
Exactly. But that's crazy. So what are your guys' thoughts on Arkansas so far?
I have a property in Arkansas, so I can't even know it.
I think I made my thoughts on Arkansas pretty.
Honestly. How are you guys feeling right now? We are running on very middle sleep.
I'm feeling a lot better than it was yesterday. I generally don't sleep before flights. I had been up for like 18 hours. I got about an hour of sleep before my flight. Flew here and was caught. I think in total, including that little 1 hour of sleep I got, I was up for like 22 hours yesterday. I got some of the best sleep I've ever gotten in my life last night.
Wait, you slept. You
Dude, I was gone.
I honestly have not slept. You haven't slept either. How long have you been up for?
Time is it? 13 hours?
Yeah, hold up. Nick, come over here. Nick, gotta introduce himself real quick. You've been up for how long though?
13 hours.
13 hours. Sweet.
You can't introduce yourself by your name. You have to introduce yourself as the king.
The key to ambassador. First, sit down. Sit down. Nick, introduce yourself, who you are, your at, and then set the conversation.
Great. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Nicholas. I'm a finance strategist. And I'm here with great people for having fun here at Kansas.
Nicholas, what do you do for a living? Like, what is your background?
So I was born in Italy and I moved to the United States 5 years ago. I work at a bank. It's called City National Bank. And it's my full-time job. I'm a relationship banker. So it's pretty interesting. My job is basically to let people know that City National is a great place to store money, and this is not an ad.
Like, this is really America.
So yeah, like it's always been my dream to work at a bank. That's the main reason that why I came to United States.
So I'd like to delve into that a little bit, because most people, at least most people that I know, even in the finance space, their dream is not to work at a bank. Why is it that it is your dream to work in a bank? What attracts you to that?
So there's multiple things. To me, it's the fact that I'm in the system and I'm living it, I'm learning from it, and from that I get a real understanding of what's happening, and it's just exciting to see like how the financial system works on that side, and from there take the best part of it, and just as also like as a personal knowledge, and also share with the audience. So
Okay, so what you're sharing in your content, and we'll get into how you started in a second. But what you're taking from your job is what you are sharing in your videos. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, partly yes.
Okay. So how did you get started on social media?
So I started a long time ago. I was a DJ in Italy, biggest passion, and I was like, it's actually funny. I have a picture. It's I had like 3 people dancing at my birthday party when I was 11. So and that was like the initial. I was like youngest kid, and I had like 3 people, and I was DJ, and I loved it. I loved the fact that I was entertaining people, creating this emotion, and it's was just like a great thing. So and I decided to, and I really focus on it, and take it to the next level. Really focusing on it. Start producing some music, and keep playing at bigger clubs, and and just like move out from there.
Are you doing both of these at the same time? Or were you using your DJ gigs in order to make content, or did you kind of just flow into it naturally?
So there was this platform called Musically, and that was like my first approach with social media. On Facebook, I had like a lot of friends, because in nearly everybody knows each other. So I had like so many friends on Facebook, and I feel like that helped a lot. So when it came out, I was making content about the DJ when I was playing, and sharing new songs, and so like just be that crazy DJ, super young, because it was not normal thing for a DJ to be that young. So that was how I started. Then when I moved here, I stopped creating content because I decided to change life. So I came here for the purpose of working in finance. And so to me, it was not a word that will work with an life.
Was the transition from that into finance something that you had always planned on doing, or was it just something that came with the territory of moving to the United States?
It came with the territory of moving to the United States. I abandoned social media completely. So like it was basically like a fresh start. And to me, being a finance creator was a reason and a way for me to be on top of financial news and be consistent on it. Because if I have to create content about finance, I need to know about finance. So for me, it was an extra way to be on top of my main goal, which was work for a bank. And so yeah, that's how I started then making financial content.
So I want to talk about that transition a little.
Hold on.
Because
Wait 1 second. We're going to talk about transition, but he's all water.
oh yeah, they do. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also, I'm nice to meet you too.
Pastor, and welcome back.
I'm back, but I'm also just spectating here. I'm not allowed to continue the conversation.
This is called passive income.
So before you had made the transition into financial content on TikTok, you would have already built up a pretty strong base with your DJing, with your dancing, with that persona that you had created. I mean, you were even verified. How did your audience take to the transition into finance?
So it was such like big pause that I took, which was like basically almost like starting fresh. So it was like about like a year and a half, I would say, that before doing that transition, almost 2. So it was pretty smooth, and yeah, it was like a fresh start.
When you say fresh start, do you mean like you were building a brand new audience? Your original audience was not paying attention to you at all? Or was it just like reintroducing yourself to the current audience while building a new audience as well?
It was basically reintroducing myself to the audience.
Okay.
Because also like the audience hadn't seen me for a while. Also, they grew, and their lives went on. So it was like probably forgot a little bit. And yeah, then I started from fresh. And
Do you still do any dance big?
no, I don't. Unfortunately, it's such like a hard thing. Because it's still like a passion, but it's one of those passions you cannot pursue because the atmosphere, the environment, it doesn't match me, and there's some dangers too. You can, get like a lifestyle that is not. It's way too different from what I want to do now, and so it would take me off the way so much that I cannot do it.
Fair enough. Antonio,
Thank you, Nick, for coming in.
Thank you.
I want everybody just to look at Nick real quick. He is single, by the way. So he just got the talent. He sees his accent. See his white teeth right there? He is single. Let him up. My head strategist.
Thank you.
We will have Nick back on again, but we are running out of time. So I do want to do a couple of closing questions before we close out. Good. I'm only here for like another 20 hours or so. But I want to do like at least 3 more podcasts. So I'm going to try to get as many people as possible. So don't worry. We'll have more people on. Don't worry. Nick will be coming back for all the people wondering. The beautiful Matt over there. Before we get close out though, I have a few questions. What are some things in life that not only as a content creator, but as a person you've seen grown? Growing up, I'm sure your priorities have changed when you were 15 to 20 to however old you are now. What's the biggest change in priority you saw from going to, like, I guess, a college student to now where you are now? And what's your priorities now, and what were they at before?
You were talking to him then to hold us, the content creators, in himself. That would mean we are the wisest, I guess.
The wise men.
We're the wisest.
For real. All right, I'll go first. So I think when I was in high school and college and at least probably up until I was 26. So young and got some time. I really wanted everything to happen right now. I was like, I need this next YouTube video to blow up. I need this next, I need to buy 15 rental properties tomorrow. You know, like I was always trying to force and push and push and push and be super aggressive. And while that was good because it built discipline, and if it, you know, was hard work over time, I think it caused me to beat myself up a lot more. And so now I'm way more like long-term focused, 10, 15, 20, 30 years out. I'm not worried about going viral overnight. Sure, I want to go viral overnight. That would be amazing. But I'm more like, we're in a recession right now. A lot of creators are probably going to stop creating because they're not making as much money from brand deals. But I'm like, I just need to stay afloat. As long as I stay afloat, I can keep doing this and keep pushing my message as much as I want. And in 20 years from now, can you imagine where my audience is going to be or how good I'm going to be at creating content if I just keep doing it? So just taking from a lot more of a patient, long-form mindset rather than like beating myself up trying to work 15 hours a day just to make the thing work.
Mm-hmm. Would you also like say it's a form of like delayed gratification in a way?
Kind of, yeah.
Like not wanting everything right away, just understanding that good will come in due time.
It's not that I don't want everything to come right away. Like I said, I like if it comes tomorrow, that's great. But it's more less attached to it happening tomorrow and like my whole emotional state being like, yes, a video went viral, I'm on top of the world, or no, a video did not go viral, I suck, I'm a piece of shit, right? Like now it's like, you're okay. Oh, video went viral, okay. It didn't go so well. You know, like I'm not going up and down, and you know, I'm just kind of like staying around medium, which is more sustainable long term than it is to go crazy over something positive or hate yourself or something negative.
That is, before that is a really key point. I tell all the content creators I manage, keep even keel. Your views will go up, they will go down. Your mindset must remain the same. If it video is viral, don't get too high on your highs and don't get too low on your lows. I think it's very important what Antonio said right there. Thanks, Seth.
Antonio really hit it out of the park on that in that regard. Now I'm just focused on the long-term plays and living in the moment. The people and the relationships that we've cultivated are really my main priority now, because I really, really believe what I said earlier. Rising tides lift all boats. And the more that we're able to help each other, the more that we're able to sustain, the more we're all going to be successful. And God, Antonio did such a beautiful job of explaining the long-term process. It's like, I don't care about anything else. I just want to make sure that I'm delivering quality content and having a great time with my friends.
Nice. So we are going to wrap it up there because we do have to get ready to go to a party that we are actually kind of late for.
Oh, do it. I look ready to eat.
You always shit, man. Look at you. Italian beans, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to do any closing comments if we want to say anything else before we end?
Thanks for listening to my rant.
Yeah. This is very impromptu and we did it. Great job, guys.
We're going to do another one tonight probably after we get absolutely wasted.
I'm down to lead. I'll be sober, so I'll feed from.
I don't drink, and this will be my second time taking edibles. I'm really excited to see what happens.
That would be interesting. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I will leave everybody's links that joined into the video and Seth and Antonio's in the description, so please check them out. They're great. I love them both. Love everybody. See ya.
Peace.
Bye-bye.